Welcome to What I Watched This Month, a new monthly segment where I speed review 4 or 5 different movies or television shows, and yeah, let's get straight into it. This is What I Watched This Month, May 2024 edition. I started off with Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit from 2005. I watched this with some of the folks over on the Quickie Discord server, and it was a lot of fun. This is a great comedy starring Peter Sallis and Helena Bonham Carter. It's the 4th Wallace and Gromit outing, and the first feature-length film starring the iconic duo. DreamWorks and Aardman had a complicated relationship for quite a while, and this film was at the forefront of it. The people at DreamWorks thought the film was too British and wouldn't appeal to Americans. Thankfully, Team Aardman didn't back down, and the film is as unapologetically British as ever. Wallace and Gromit are pest control workers protecting the town from animals that are ravaging the crops of their customers, namely rabbits. One day, Wallace gets the idea to mind control the rabbits so that they don't want to eat veggies anymore. But things go horribly awry, and now at night he turns into a giant rabbit monster that eats the town's produce. Can Gromit save the citizens from Wallace, and ultimately save Wallace from himself? The animation is painstakingly detailed. Stop motion is a performance art all on its own, and when you go and watch some of the behind-the-scenes videos from any Aardman film, that much becomes apparent. It's grueling work, but the filmmakers love what they do, and that love is translated onto the screen perfectly. There's another Wallace and Gromit film in development, and hopefully Aardman will keep making movies after that. The studio that produced their Clay for years shut down in 2023, and then they announced that they had enough to make one more Wallace and Gromit film, and then we're looking at Plan B options to find more Clay. Here's hoping that the next Wallace and Gromit film brings more success to the studio, and is as witty and wonderful as Curse of the Were-Rabbit. 9 out of 10. 2024 seems to be the year of the Sonic Renaissance. We're getting several new Sonic video games, we're getting Sonic 3 at the end of the year with Keanu Reeves as Shadow and Jim Carrey as Eggman, which again, how perfect of a casting choice can you get? And to tide us over, Paramount Plus released this TV miniseries all about Knuckles. At least I thought it was about Knuckles. I mean, it's titled Knuckles. And when the show focuses on Knuckles, it's actually a lot of fun and very charming. Idris Elba puts his all into the role, and he has great chemistry with the human characters. Sonic and Tails show up for a bit at the first few minutes, too. There was a tiny misstep when all of this started, for sure. But once Paramount took the time to retrace their steps and fix their error and actually listen to what fans had to say, these characters were translated to the screen so well.
Meow?
They have a cute, cartoonish aesthetic that still blends in well with the world around them, adding an air of believability. Class, can we say thank you, Tyson Hess?
Thank you, Tyson Hess.
If mammalian aliens came to Earth and lived among us, there's a good chance they really would look and act and behave like this. I really enjoyed the chemistry between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and it's kinda cool seeing them just live with humans like this, learning about what it means to be one of them, and going the needed lengths to fight alongside and protect them. It reminds me of like Sonic X, but if Sonic X was actually good.
What? Yeah, I said that. What are you gonna do about it?
I really wanted to see more of these characters in slice-of-life scenarios, and watch them grow and develop when there isn't some world-ending threat afoot. Which is why Knuckles was such a disappointing letdown, man. Rather than being all about Knuckles acclimating to life on Earth, the show ends up being about Knuckles accompanying this police officer deputy Wade, and Wade goes on like a bowling competition to make his dad proud. They might as well have called it the Wade and Knuckles show, because that's really what it is. There's less Knuckles than there is petty human side drama. Again, like I said, when the show actually focuses on Knuckles, it's a lot of fun. But it's not his story, it's Wade's story. Knuckles is just living in it. They go on this road trip, and they're pursued by these rogue gun agents who want to sell Knuckles to this bounty hunter? This guy apparently used to work for Eggman, but I don't really know that much more about him. They don't really expand on his character a lot. He's there the most in like the final episode, and that's it. So they escape these agents, and then they hang out at Wade's mom's house where Knuckles learns about Shabbat, which is like a Jewish custom in which families spend time together on Saturday until this candle burns out. Then they're pursued by the feds, who hire another bounty hunter to capture Wade for some reason. And then Wade has a vision where he's acting as Knuckles in this cheap rock opera about Knuckles' origin story. And then they go to the bowling competition where Wade goes up against his dad and Knuckles fights this bounty hunter again, but then he's knocked out and almost captured until Wade shows up and saves him, giving him the time to strengthen up and finally defeat the guy. Do you see the problem here? It's not about Knuckles, it's about Wade. It's always Wade, Wade, Wade. Wade's family, Wade's bowling alley competition. I don't care about Wade. I came here to watch this adorable fuzzy red echidna learn about life on Earth. And I mean, he does do that. He has these nice little scenes where he talks with the mom about Shabbat, and Wade teaches him about stuff like bowling and music. Those scenes are really cute and a lot of fun. But other than that, Knuckles is barely in the show. There's an episode where Knuckles shows up at the beginning for like 30 seconds, and then the rest of the episode is about Wade trying to escape this bounty hunter. Why did they even bother making a Knuckles show if they weren't going to make Knuckles the main focus? If I had to guess, it either came down to the animation being too expensive, or Idris Elba being too expensive, or a combination of both. They couldn't afford Idris Elba for a long time, because he's an A-list actor, which, I get that, that's fine, but why couldn't they have at least hired a sound-alike actor to voice Knuckles in the meantime? It's like how Tom Hanks' brother voices Woody in the, video games and stuff, because the video games can't afford to have Tom Hanks actually voice Woody. So Tom Hanks does Woody's voice in movies and all that, but then Tom Hanks' brother does Woody's voice in everything else. They could have hired a guy who sounds exactly like Idris Elba to voice Knuckles in the TV show, and they could have saved some money that way. On the other hand, the animation in this show is beautiful. It's on par with the movies, if not way much more of an improvement. I like how this character looks. He looks real. He looks like he's really there. This is really well done. So I guess it's more of a pick your poison kind of thing. Do we want to see a Knuckles show that has more Knuckles but cheaper animation? Or do we want to see a Knuckles show that has less Knuckles but animation that's on par with the movies? And so I guess at that point it's like, okay, fair. That's completely fair. So we didn't really get Knuckles in the Knuckles TV show as much as we could have. I'm looking forward to Sonic 3 coming out at the end of the year, but if this TV show is any indication of what's to come, it's not looking good. I'm gonna give Knuckles a 6 out of 10. Last month I bought the 6-film Alien set on Blu-ray. The first 2 Alien films are some of my favorite forays into science fiction, especially the second one. But from what I had heard, the series kinda spiraled out of control from there on out. Ripley dies alone with the xenomorph busting out of her chest in Alien 3, and that was the depressing ending to an otherwise great trilogy. Alien Resurrection was originally supposed to be a film focusing on a clone of Newt, the little girl from Aliens, with a treatment written by Joss Whedon. Of course, the studio interfered and they wanted it to be about Ripley again. Big surprise. So now Ripley is cloned for the sole purpose of harvesting the xenomorph that was inside of her when she died, and they keep Ripley alive for some reason after getting the baby alien from her. The Weyland-Yutani Corporation is long gone at this point. They've been gone for 200 years, and instead we're on some rogue military base that's harvesting 12 aliens. That's a lot of aliens. That's like the most aliens to ever alien in an Alien movie. Now Ripley and a ragtag team of space pirates have to run and gun their way off of the spaceship and escape to a ravaged Earth. The movie is definitely a lot more fun than Alien 3, but make no mistake, it's still a bad movie. Really bad. There's a lot of scenes that have this needlessly sexual undertone where there doesn't need to be one.
I can make it stop. Who do I have to fuck to get off this boat?
Who is this for? Ripley apparently has acid blood and can sense vibrations in the atmosphere now, and then there's this oddly creepy yet cute, grotesque alien-human hybrid made from Ripley's DNA. Also, the director is very, very French. Unapologetically French. I came here to watch Aliens, not a lesbo flick! I fell asleep while watching this movie, and I missed some really cool scenes that I wanted to see, including the underwater escape scene that took them 3 weeks to film. Definitely one of the highlights of this movie, though. If you're looking for a nonsensical B-movie with some mostly good effects and gore, this is the film for you. But if you pick apart movies for plot holes and continuity errors, you're really not gonna like this movie. 4 out of 10, for sure. I rewatched the original theatrical cut of Star Wars from 1977. The cut of Star Wars that most people watch today, the one on Disney Plus and Blu-ray, things like that, is the altered special edition propagated by George Lucas. And while it does have some necessary additions, like the introduction of Jabba the Hutt, it also featured a ton of awful CGI alterations that don't meld well with the nearly 50-year-old film. There's a group of fans that took film scans and source footage from different versions of Star Wars to restore to 4K the original theatrical cut of the film. That means no CGI and none of the added scenes that are in the film today.
bet you have.
Like, what was the point of this? What does McClunky even mean? It's amazing watching Star Wars the way audiences saw it when it first came out. This is the way that my dad watched it growing up. The practical effects still stand out on their own and hold up pretty well. Although the original world of Star Wars is less populated, it still feels lived in and otherworldly. Not all of the effects are perfect, but for 1977, this is amazing stuff. Star Wars tells the story of Luke Skywalker, a young man living on a remote desert planet who is roped into a fight against the tyrannical government that rules the galaxy with an iron fist. The actors gave this film their all despite the horrible weather conditions, and these characters feel real, if not a little bit larger than life. And for a melodramatic film like Star Wars, that works perfectly. Darth Vader looms over the back of your head as you watch this movie, his presence shaping the course of the film. Meanwhile, a young and optimistic Luke Skywalker brings hope to the audience and his galaxy at large. I miss this young, hopeful Luke Skywalker. He fought for what was right despite everybody telling him not to. And he didn't try to kill his loved ones at the slight possibility of their turning over to the dark side. Ryan, this movie was a game changer not only in the science fiction genre, but in filmmaking as a whole. If you can get your hands on a copy of the original version of Star Wars, I'd highly recommend checking it out. It's a lot of fun, and it's interesting to see how far Star Wars has come since then, for better or for worse. This film is definitely a 9 out of 10. And finally, we have this Studio Ghibli film, The Wind Rises. And I don't know if I can review this film without the video being taken down by Studio Ghibli. They did that to the Ponyo review, and it's up on Rumble if you want to go watch it. But for some reason, they didn't do that to the Arrietty review, which is completely fine and hasn't been called out or copyrighted or anything. So I'm gonna try. We'll see what happens. The Wind Rises is a 2013 Japanese animated film directed by Hayao Miyazaki about a boy named Jiro Horikoshi and his love for aviation. He designs airplanes in a post-World War II Japan, and all the while we watch him grow from boy to man, working his way up the ranks of the aeronautics company, helping people who are in peril, and marrying a young woman who dies of tuberculosis. You know, for kids! The main conflict in this film is balance. Jiro has to balance his married life with his work life, and ultimately it costs him his final moments with his beloved. It's a heartbreaking story with beautiful visuals and dream sequences, and a soaring musical score. This was originally supposed to be Hayao Miyazaki's final film, and it was, for like 6 years. But Miyazaki keeps coming out of retirement and making another last movie. Alright, and it looks like our next movie pitch is by Hayao Miyazaki.
Oh no, not again. I thought we got rid of that guy.
こんにちは。
Hey, yo, buddy. I thought you were retired.
何？いやいや、何言ってるのかわかりません。
Great.
それで、素晴らしい映画のアイデアがありま
It
す。
takes place in post-World War II Japan,
第二次
doesn't
世
it?
界大戦後の日本が舞台で、少年が大麻を吸うゲーマーから母親を救う物語です。
I gotta hand it to the guy, he knows how to stay productive. I wish I could get a quarter as much done as he does on a yearly basis. I love that Miyazaki's recent films have all featured a male protagonist venturing into manhood. Ponyo told the story of a young boy's love for an underwater creature being turned human, and it shows him having to take charge and protect the people he loves. The Wind Rises told the story of a young man's evolution from child to adult as he struggles to make time for his dying wife. And his newest film, The Boy and the Heron, tells the story of a young man traveling to another world to rescue his mother from the clutches of death. I'm really excited to see The Boy and the Heron, but I have a feeling that Miyazaki won't just quit here. I'm looking forward to seeing what Studio Ghibli does next. The Wind Rises is a certain 10 out of 10. Overall, there was a pretty diverse selection of movies this month, with more of a slant towards science fiction. I look forward to next month's video. Let me know in the comments below what film you'd like to see me review next, and as always, take care and have a great day.